What's up, Phil? What's up, everyone?
Hello.
WarpZone's back.
What a day to warp.
Time to warp. I'm Sean Nugent,
I'm Phil Villareal.
and we might have a special guest drop in at some point. We'll take a look and see in a little bit. Phil, how do you want to start off today on this wonderful Monday Warp Zone?
Well, let's talk about what we're playing. Right now for me, it's still Mario Strikers Battle League. Loving that game. Last week I pitched it to our Juve esports guest as a possible esport. Didn't really get a lot of maybe positivity on that one, but I do like that game. I think it is an esport capable game. It's fun. It's Mario and Luigi and Waluigi and Donkey Kong just playing a version of what you might call soccer, but it's also mixed with hockey and all sorts of madness like crazy items and stuff. So it's just a really fun game. Can't stop playing it. I've loved it since an earlier version was on GameCube. This is fantastic. I love it. Sean, you should maybe play it at some point if you ever get a shot. What about you though? What are you playing these days?
Oh, I'm playing Genshin. The summer event's out, and I get hooked. I can't stop playing this game. As much as I want to stop playing it, I keep playing. And the summer event is
on it last week. Any new money? Did you lose any more money on it this week?
Oh, no. I will spend the $5 a month for the one little pass, but I'm not spending. I'm not whaling, as they call it. I'm just gonna play. I play the game. I get whatever gems I can from that, and buy my loot boxes through the game. I'm not like when I was playing Overwatch and I bought so many loot boxes because I was a dumb college kid.
We all have those regrets, man. Those loot boxes, you never look back on those purchases favorably. You're never like, that was a great investment. I'm really good with money. It's always that pit in your soul when you think back, why did I do that? Like, why was I such a sucker of the marketing? But that's why they exist. They exist to lure you in, make you dump that cash, and probably look back on it in regret.
Yep.
Well, there is a big movie playing right now. Not necessarily a blockbuster, but something that very well
the exquisite documentary. Gabby Giffords Won't Back Down.
This is Gabby Giffords Won't Back Down. It's a wonderfully Tucson connected story. It's a tale of former U.S. Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords and how she was shot in an assassination attempt in which several others were killed. It's about how she comes back from that. And just it's got some video that was shot by her husband, Mark Kelly, now a senator himself. Fascinating to see her journey from a medically induced coma to someone who can sing again, who can walk, and ride in El Tour de Tucson. This might be the greatest movie about a Tucson figure ever created. It's an excellent movie. I would say there might be some people who are backing away from this politically if you don't identify with the gun control movement, or obviously to very prominent Democrats who are featured here, but this is just a wonderful human tale. I recommend anyone see this. It's directed by the same women who made the notorious RBG, which is another excellent political documentary. I recommend get out and see this one. This is great, inspiring. It's everything I hoped it could be. So I gave this one 4 stars. I love this film. You going to see this one ever, Sean?
I want to. The trailer, it was such a well-cut trailer too. Just the positivity and the way she joked about what happened. Like, I can't get over just that one scene in the trailer was enough to make me, I'm still thinking about just how positive she stayed 10 years after this like horrible tragedy.
Yeah, and it's just a well-made and it's a well-rounded film too. You might expect it to kind of just be like only positive, only like rose-colored glasses thing, but it's actually a pretty difficult look at a tough relationship maybe they've had at times, Giffords and Kelly, and just kind of the family issues they had to deal with at the beginning of their marriage. A very tough professional choice that Mark Kelly had to make. He was an astronaut at the time. He actually chose to go to space instead of stay with Gabby Giffords at her bedside at really her toughest hour of getting that emergency brain surgery when she was in that coma. So he kind of still is haunted by that choice in some ways, even though he justifies it. So I think it's as well-rounded as it could have been. Obviously a very pro-gun control message, but the Gabby Giffords Foundation's definitely had some success recently. If you look at the gun legislation that was signed bipartisan recently. So maybe maybe the movie came at the right time for that reason. But Sean, you've seen some really awful movies lately, right? Like you told me about something with Alicia Silverstone. I didn't even know she was still a star.
Yeah, and we're José Zozaya dropping in.
Yes. Now we're at a party.
Very fashionably late, but happy to be here. Go for it, Sean. So, yeah.
Well, I wanted to start off by listening to your take on the Gabby Giffords movie. Is this something that you're going to be interested in? Do you think you're going to see it down the road? Like, what are your impressions of it so far?
Are you talking to me, Phil?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The trailer, I mean, it sells you sort of on the human interest story, as you said. If nothing else, if you wanted to separate the politics of it, you can look at the fact that, this is a Tucson figure that most people here, of course, if how familiar they are with, it's a matter of degrees. Looking at the team of directors who, as you mentioned, they put together the Notorious RBG documentary. If nothing else, if it's just to spend time looking at a story of something that happened, a tragedy that someone survives, and seeing that progress of where they've recovered, I think a lot of people will find that bittersweet but uplifting. So no, you mentioned you'd seen it, Phil. I think I'd be very interested in seeing what is within the story for sure.
Great. Hope you guys get a chance to see it. But now we're going to switch from a great movie to awful movies. Sean does nothing in his spare time but watch awful movies, it seems like. And I respect the journey you take, though. Like, tell us about the Alicia Silverstone one. I want to hear about this.
Oh, okay. Well, you reviewed The Princess a couple weeks ago. This is the same director. Apparently, this guy is just dropping movies like crazy for Hulu. Hulu must have a contract with him, but this one is called The Requiem. I do not know what that means. Don't have a clue. Alicia Silverstone stars in it, which first starring role in probably 15 years. I haven't heard that name in forever. It's a movie about a woman and her husband are in Vietnam in a little beach house that gets swept out to sea during a big storm, and they have to survive a shark attacking them. And that's the entire movie.
So you're rooting for the shark against Alicia, I'm guessing, right? Like the shark's your hero. Yeah, you kind of
are. You're not rooting for anyone in this movie. You're rooting for the credits. You really want them to come. It's so bad. This is a movie that was shot on one green screen. It's 90 minutes long. Nothing really happens. When you get to the shark fight, it has like blood splatter effects on the actual like screen. Ooh. So you can tell that they just pulled this off like a PS2 video game or like the cheapest blood effect they could find on Final Cut. It's just terrible. There's no point. There's no reason. Alicia Silverstone spends the entire time screaming, basically. It's a huge waste of time. And if Hulu is actually like contracted with this guy to make more movies, I know you said The Princess is good. I haven't seen that one yet. Maybe you want to talk about that one a little bit just to give some context for
real quick, Sean. If you're seeing the comment below, Son of Fernando, perhaps criticizing Alicia Silverstone's choice of projects, but real quick, do you know what the word requiem is? I just Googled it.
Did you Google it? Okay.
It is French. It is French for shark.
Wow, that's so clever.
See, well, it makes sense for Vietnam. What's that?
How wrong is it that Sean's like really, vivid description, his loathing for this movie? It only makes me want to watch it. Like, it just seems so awful that I've got to see this, especially if gentlemen of a certain age, they grew up watching Alicia Silverstone's work, and you just got to continue it on to this day. Like, I'm going to watch this movie. I'm sure it's bad, like you're saying, Sean. The director, I was impressed with The Princess. The director has some talent, at least. The Princess is a really fun movie. It's a martial arts film, so definitely in your wheelhouse, Sean. Which also might make you hate it, though, if it's not going to hold up to the classics that you kind of associate with that genre. But like, it's just a fun anti-fairy tale movie. It's got Joey King in the lead role. She's kicking some butt. She is not the damsel in distress. She's the damsel who's going to go kick the tail of everybody else in the kingdom who's wronged her. So a little Kill Bill-like vibe in there. So I like Princess a lot. But then again, this movie came out a couple weeks ago. No one's talking about it anymore. No one really cares. So it's very much a flash in the pan. But yeah, if you go back to the Hulu files, why not check that one out?
We got a comment here asking Sean, is it Sharknado bad? Wondering if we'll get a response from him. Maybe that's something we'll have to discover for ourselves, right, Phil?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, by the way, because Sean compares many movies he's to Sharknado, and not only Sharknado but the Sharknado spin-offs. So that is a good baseline to go with. Like Sharknado, there's Sharknado Feeding Frenzy, there's Sharknado 3, Oh Hell No. There's a lot of the Sharknado au revoir to compare it to.
Sure.
One show that I did binge this week, I found myself fascinated by it, was another feminist-minded series. This one's on Disney Plus, and it's called Ms. Marvel.
Okay.
I'm all about this show. It's really fun and has very creative editing. This might kind of put people off, but like it's got like Snapchat style editing. Like it's got all sorts of like filters. It's got all sorts of like text on screen, a very unique way of presenting. And the first episode, the pilot's a little much. Maybe they overdo that effect. And I was like, okay, are you going to do this the entire series? They kind of scale it back as it goes. It turns into something more traditional, but just a really fun series. So I think mainly they're targeting younger women, younger kids in general. I liked it, and there's nothing young about me. I enjoyed this movie. This series? Is this something that you think you might see at some point? Jose, where do you draw the line with your Marvel fandom? Like, do you see all the series? Do you see all the films? Like, what exactly do you look for Marvel stuff?
Sure, Phil. I'll tell you, well, one, like, if you found something you could connect to in this series, then kudos to the writers, where it's like, they find that there is, a connection with other age groups. It's not just, as you mentioned, the younger female demographic who will gravitate to the Instagram, Snapchat filters of it. But to that credit then, Phil, because it's new, because it's, Miss Marvel, she's a character I don't know. I'm more interested to learn more about her, if that makes any sense, versus I don't know, I don't know if I've been losing interest in going to see Thor Love and Thunder now, where it just feels like this is the fourth version of a standalone movie of a character I think I know. I don't know where or how they want to further his narrative arc. So perhaps it's more so wanting to discover something different, something new. It seems like, it's a younger cast. You see, it seems like they're high school age. My understanding is the characters are. So, perhaps it's a new way to try and tell the same superhero story a lot of us are familiar with, but and maybe something I think some of us could relate to, Phil, is, she's, first generation immigrant, is my understanding. She's a character. A lot of us can personally relate to that. So there's another sort of plus,
There's some good diversity in this that you don't see a lot in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're trying to expand it more. They're definitely going on that. But it's not diversity just for the sake of diversity, not to check a box. This is actually a very compelling story. And it taught me some history too, like about the partition in Pakistan and India in the 1940s. This is when the British were leaving India. It used to be one giant country. But they kind of arbitrarily made Pakistan the Muslim, the place where the Muslims would go. So there were these massive riots. People were losing their homes. People were like, there was all sorts of like, there's fires, there was fighting, like a tremendously huge conflict that I had very little, almost no knowledge of before this series. But they actually do some time jumping. So you actually get to see kind of their take of what it might have been like in the 1940s in Pakistan and India. So I was very impressed with this. This is not like a slight, like offhand, like, oh, let's just slap it up there and hope the teens like it, like a DCOM. This is some in-depth stuff. And you look at the credits as they roll, which, by the way, this show has excellent credits. Every single post episode credits. It's got some really cool pictures, very cool lettering, and you can see just by the names of the cast alone that this is authentic. They're going for people who have cultural knowledge of this stuff. So yeah, very well done. You don't see a lot of scenes inside of a mosque positively, but there's a lot of in a lot of entertainment media, but you see it a lot in this series. This is a comedy, and it's just about a Muslim family living in New Jersey in this day and age. Very well done.
A little cultural exchange, a little history. It seems like there's a lot to offer.
Oh yeah. Sean, are you back yet? Or are you still gone?
I've had to relocate, but I think I'm back.
In the warp zone, you can get sucked away at any moment. You can come. People pop in like Jose. Like it's a strange and random existence. So, what else have you seen, Sean? What else do you want to share with our viewers here that's really awful?
Oh, awful. Okay.
Or not awful. Like I expect it to be awful.
Well, let's start with the not awful. We'll start with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which has the most unwieldy name on the planet, but it is fantastic movie. Great performance from Nick Cage, great performance from Pedro Pascal. It's a weird little action movie, very self-referential. It understands what it is. It understands it's making fun of Nick Cage, but it's also making fun of movies. Very meta in that regard. It's a lot of fun if you haven't seen it. Jose, I'm not sure if you have yet, but
I'll 2 thumbs up. 1 to you asking me that question, Sean, and then 2, I wholeheartedly that's the best I've seen Nick Cage since what? I mean, do you consider National Treasure like the last good thing he was in, guys? I don't know. Maybe. At least in my mind.
That's a good question. Phil, do you have any thoughts on Nick Cage movies since National Treasure?
What I liked about this movie is that I don't think it even referenced National Treasure, which is kind of surprising. I didn't catch any references in this one, but they should have. That was a missed opportunity. But I thought that one of my favorite scenes is when someone's talking to him about The Rock and Face Off and just putting it in his face and saying, "Isn't it sad that you don't star in movies like this anymore?" And to me, that was a very meta moment that hit home, because not only does Nick Cage not star in movies that are going to typically be blockbusters anymore, but they don't make those Face Off or The Rock or any of those types of big 1990s action movies. Those so rarely come along anymore, like that style. So it's kind of like a tribute to a bygone era. But yeah, he kills it in this movie. To me, this movie was everything JCVD could have been, tried to have been, and just was not quite in every way. This is the ultimate Nick Cage movie. And yes, he does have that massive talent. It's not ironic that he is so talented. And the fact that he can just look at himself in this way is remarkable. So yeah, what an accomplishment there. One of definitely my favorites of the year so far.
Mm-hmm. And to the point about National Treasure, I think there was a reference about him running. I can't entirely remember it. But post National Treasure, Nick Cage, have there been any movies that have really stuck?
Well, could you tell me, guys, if you remember, what was the movie where Nick Cage played a pilot and there was some sort of apocalyptic, plot involved? Does that ring a bell?
That was Left Behind.
Okay, that does ring a bell. I just stood out in my mind because of how singular, let's call it singular, that movie was.
Was Jennifer Hudson and somebody random was in there?
I'll look too. Give me a sec.
It was about the Rapture, I think. I'm vaguely familiar with the books. I never saw the movie.
I have actually never seen those, and I do love that type of movie, so I should see those. It's got Kirk Cameron, just running around with all the heathens, saving them. I will mention, though, Pig, a movie I have not seen. I think you've seen it, though, right, Sean? That isn't a blockbuster, but it's a very, I think, well-respected film that Nicolas Cage recently starred in.
I have not seen it. It's on my list. I want to watch it this week, actually. I'm on a little bit of a Nick Cage binge right now. But Pig seems like it was a movie that kind of revitalized maybe people who weren't so sure about his acting ability. Seemed to really like that one.
I'll confess to you that too, then, Sean. I should watch Pig as well. I haven't. I don't know why I totally blanked, guys, on Kick-Ass 1 and 2.
Oh yeah,
I forget, or 1 at least he
Forgot.
was in for sure.
Yeah, one is very solid. 2, little bit of a letdown. But yeah, like he just stars in so many movies that some are gonna be awful, most will be, because as you know, as talked about in this film, he doesn't have much discernment. He just stars in whatever. But he always makes it interesting in his own way. And my favorite character in that Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is Nicky, which is like the Nick Cage where he's just always overacting and he talks to himself and he does other things with himself in that movie too. But just a fascinating character. Like this is just a very creative film. I adore the way this was done, and that you could do this about other people, other icons that are big right now. It wouldn't probably be hit as hard as it does with Nick Cage, though, because he's Nick Cage. There's only one of them.
And I was thinking about movies post National Treasure. The one that has stuck with me is Drive Angry, which I don't know why this is stuck with. It's such a bad movie where Nick Cage escapes from hell in his like Mustang or whatever and has to kill the people who sent him there, and it's so bad.
Sounds very good.
Demons. It is, I think it came out 2009, 2010, but it is one of those like 90-minute cheapo, fantastic bad action movies that you don't get enough of. And on the flip side, I watched Ghosts of I forgot the name of it already. Ghosts of Prisonerland or something like that.
Yeah, that's one you just saw, right?
Prisoners of the Ghostland. I just watched this. You can't. The name is so dumb. And it was interesting. Conceptually, it's like he's a criminal who got caught. He's in this town that's like samurai and cowboys for some reason, kind of intermingled, and he gets sent out to the Ghostland, which is kind of like Mad Max style. A lot of strange people, mutants, that sort of thing. He's sent out there to get the mayor's daughter back and bring her. And along the way, there's all this weird stuff. There are people dressed up like Mad Max who only speak in like cliques. He's strapped up with bombs on different parts of his body. So if he slaps a woman, it blows his junk off. It's a bizarre. It has so many interesting ideas. For some reason, the women who are stolen and taken to the Ghostland are put in like doll outfits where they like glue the pieces of the porcelain doll to them. It's just like visually very interesting. It was honestly kind of well directed. There were some samurai fights, and I was like, these aren't as bad as they could be. Nick Cage ends up like having a whole samurai shootout fight scene that was kind of wild. There's a lot of interesting stuff, but the movie itself, like none of the characters are any good. None of the actors are very good. Nick Cage is just playing Nick Cage. He's overacting. He's being wild. He's having a blast with it. And the sets and everything are interesting, but it's just it's trying to be like Hobo with a Shotgun, but you have to be so specific to hit that magic of that low budget weird movie like that.
To me, Hobo with a Shotgun is like the natural extension of Snakes on a Plane. Like there was just a while where there were just like movies went beyond high concept to like one line only and basing entire movies off of that. But yeah, I respect that film like you do. I love to hear that Nick Cage didn't learn his lesson. He wasn't shamed by Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. He went right back to doing Nick Cage things immediately, and you already saw one of them, Sean. That's magical to me.
I think he's going to continue to do that, though. He seems kind of he's jaded about Hollywood. He's always seemed kind of jaded about Hollywood, and he seems to appreciate going for those strange, smaller movies. Even if he knows they're not good, he knows he's going to have a good time with it, and his name is going to bring more people to that director or that production. And I respect that.
To answer your question real quick, Sean, it was Jordan Sparks who was in Left Behind with Nick Cage.
I knew it was someone just unmemorable anymore.
A singing, you just I didn't know she had acting chops, but she was in that movie. So
probably didn't have acting chops.
Let's see. Guys, real quick, if you mind, like, I don't know how much, I've never asked you to if you like South Park, if that was something you guys, okay. Have you seen Streaming Wars Part 2?
I have not. I need to get to that one. That's my one special I'm behind. How is it? Have you seen it?
I did. I caught it over the weekend. I love these specials only because if you struggle sometimes to sit down for a 90-minute, 2-hour-long movie, these are less than 60 minutes, and they get to the point, and you can spread them out between part 1 and part 2. I mean, it's hilarious. You know, Trey and Matt digging into climate change, the drought, super topical, at least for the Western U.S. And Randy gets sort of a redemption arc, but you can expect the usual hijinks from Cartman, and they involve a lot more with Token. So they're exploring different characters, but somehow it feels like Randy has become such a critical part of the plots. So if you like that, I think you'll get a good chuckle. Another thing is, of course, they stay really topical. They make fun of these celebrities shelling out for crypto commercials. So you'll see those references pop in, interspersed in the special. So I'd recommend it, guys.
Yeah, that's right. And also on Paramount Plus, Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. That is a knockout. Love that film. So funny. Really well done. Glad Beavis and Butthead's content's still cranking out in this day and age.
They had a one season, what 10 years ago or something on MTV, and it didn't go anywhere.
Yep, they're just gonna wander in. They're like the WarpZone. They wander in every now and then when they freeze, and there they are. They're still just like they were in 1994, I guess. Like that's, and the movie has some fun with that too. It just they're always going to be in their time stuck there in front of the TV. That's exactly what it should be.
So are we Beavis and Butthead? Is that what you're saying?
So. That's what we're aspiring to be. I mean, we can maybe make our way to that at some point.
What does that make Jose?
He can be Billy Bob if he wants.
I'll be Billy Bob, sure.
I should probably be Daria.
You are very much a male Daria. I love it.
Oh man, that's good.
On that note, guys, I guess we might be about out of time here.
Yeah. Good discussion.
Yeah.
Sorry we're all warping in and out, but it worked out in the end.
Always does.
All right, folks. Well, thanks, guys, for letting me pop in late. I'll bring something else too next time I join in on time. I'll be punctual, I promise.
It's okay. There's no time in the warp zone. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.